Joined now by the head coach of the Mavericks, Mike Hastings. Mike, the Mavericks facing Fair State this weekend. You want to begin with a few comments about facing Fair State, please?
Yeah, you know what? The last time we played with them or played against them in their building, you know, we split. They earned one, we earned one, and I always think Ferris is a difficult place. And now they're coming back to our place, and you know, the one thing you're going to always face with Ferris State is they're going to be hard. They're going to be aggressive on you. They like to. I think they're playing good hockey right now. They play with pace. They're in and out of their zone real quickly. And you know, the struggles that we've had when we've played them, it's when we don't get off to good starts. And so it's very important for us being back home that we get off to a good start. We did that against Duluth, and it just puts us in, gets the building involved and puts us in a good position. So we know we're going to have our hands full, but we look forward to being able to play in our own building again.
Joined now by Kevin Dudley of the Mankato Free Press. Kevin, do you have a couple questions for Coach Mike Hastings?
Yep. Hey, Mike, just to start, I was wondering if you had any update on Nathan Smith or Reggie Lutz. I know those guys were, I think, both dealing with injuries at the end of last weekend.
Yeah, you know what? Reggie Lutz he's still day to day, but I don't see Reggie being in the lineup this weekend. Nathan Smith is progressing nicely, and so he's going to be day to day. I think it'll be a game time decision as far as Friday, but he's going in a really good direction. He's getting better every day. So that's where both those guys are at.
You have another question, Kevin?
Yep. And then we're going to talk to Andre Pavel here. I know he's someone you've been really happy with lately. Maybe just to start, can you maybe say a little bit about, you know, from last year to this year, where you feel his game has improved? I know last offseason coming in as a freshman, he didn't have the normal summer. That was probably tough on him. Anything you want to just start open-ended about where you've seen his game improve this season so far?
Consistency. You know, he's a real prideful young man. What I mean by that is he puts his time in, whether it's in the weight room, the classroom. He's an engineering major. It's a tough major for a hockey player based upon the schedule and the demands that are put on him. You know, he's just somebody that expects a tremendous amount out of himself, whether it's on the ice sheet or in the classroom. And he puts his time in it. To see him now start to develop, I think, a consistency in his game. You know, he's somebody that we're very comfortable with. If you've looked at our penalty kill lately, and hopefully that continues on through this weekend, our penalty kill has been pretty good. And I think he's a big reason for that. He can go out and win faceoffs and takes a lot of pride in making sure that the puck doesn't hit the back of our net when we're short-handed. Then you go to his 5-on-5 game. I just think it's gone to a different level because of the confidence. He's got 4 goals on the year now. Like to, as with most Europeans, you try and like him to maybe shoot the puck a little bit more. He's starting to move forward for that, so hopefully it'll continue. But character, consistency, and he's hard. He's 200 pounds plus and plays the game the right way. It's hard to handle in front of the net and defends with an attitude. So you combine all those with the quality of human being that he is. He's a really good hockey player. I'm glad he's wearing our jersey.
And then as far as, you know, like you mentioned the faceoffs, I think he's close to 61% there. Block shots, I think among your forwards, he's second. The PK you mentioned, seems like a guy who takes pride and enjoys doing some of the things that, you know, maybe aren't going to show up in the goals and assist column, isn't he?
You know, that's, well, as a coach, you look at those, and they're not the bright lights. They're not the things that make headlines, but as you notice, you know, and you've already said, they're the things that help you win hockey games. Without them, you can't. And I just think he takes pride in what he does every day in his craft as a hockey player. And I think that's also why you see the respect factor that not only the coaching staff has for him, but his teammates. Because he goes and he takes pride in the things that aren't that easy to do. And you don't get a lot of benefit from, like I said, in the stat column, other than if you're peeling back some layers of the onion, you look at block shots, you look at face-offs, you look at the hard things in the game that I think other players don't like playing against, and you'll see him in succeeding in those avenues, and he's just become a very valuable player for us.
In terms of looking at some of the forwards you lost last year, guys like Dallas Gerads, Jared Spooner, Walker Duehr, they play a certain style that I think maybe, Andre can replicate a bit. How important has he been filling in, in terms of, that style for those forwards you lost?
Well, again, you've been following us for a while now and covering us, and you're right on. When you lose that heavy, the three guys you're talking about there were all right around 200 pounds, if not north of that. And when you lose that presence, you need somebody to fill in. And I've just been very spoiled, I think, as a head coach here last year by that group you talked about, and the heavy lifting that they did at the bottom of our lineup, and how effective they were, and made us difficult to play against. And I think Pav's stepping right into that role, and he's succeeding. And it's because of his preparation and the qualities that we've already discussed.
Mike, we'd be remiss if we didn't touch on some recognition for some of your players this week, with WCHA naming their players of the month, Nathan Smith and Jake Livingstone and Dryden McKay in the CCHA, I'm sorry, and then nationally with HCA, with Dryden picking up the National Goaltender of the Week award. You want to touch on that a little bit?
Sure. I think it's, when they get recognition like that, sometimes they set out on a step and they're singled out, which, if you're to talk about Dryden's numbers over the month, they're pretty special. I think he's north of 950, less than a goal against the game, a few shutouts mixed in there. He'd be the first one to tell you that those are team numbers, but what he did this last week, and really the last two, you go to Bemidji and you get two, and you play Duluth, you get two. You need a goaltender to be better than just okay, and he has been better than okay. I think he's been outstanding when he's needed to be, and that was recognition for him, well earned. And I think our defensive core and the rest of the group has helped in that. But I just think he's playing at a very high level right now, and I hope that can continue. When you look at the other guys that we're talking about, Jake Livingstone's just really taken an enormous step for me from a confidence standpoint, whether it's on the power play 5-on-5. He's doing a much better job, I think, at defending. And I think you're seeing some of those recognitions for those guys because they're earned. And again, I think we've got a real selfless group, but it's good to see that the individuals that you brought up are being recognized for their contributions, whether it's on a weekend or whether it's for an entire month.
Mike, thanks very much. Good luck against Fair State this weekend.
Thank you.
Joined now by sophomore center Andre Pavel. Andre, your thoughts on the season so far for Minnesota State?
I thought we had a really strong start at I thought we had a really strong start, and especially, if you start so well, I was a little bit worried if we can keep it going, but fortunately, we still keep the heat. With the last weekend being as good as it was, it's really crucial to keep the motivation and not get complacent about how well we are playing right now, and just keep the train going.
That's great. Kevin Dudley of the Free Press, do you have a couple questions for Andre?
Andre, some of your teammates last season, Jared Spooner, Walker Duehr, Dallas Gerads, I think they played a certain role. I know they talked about, being heavy and the ground game and kind of, playing that style. With those guys gone, have you kind of taken it upon yourself to really kind of keep that style of play, going on in the lineup this year?
I'm definitely trying to measure up to those guys, especially, they were really good on the ice, but I think they had a bigger role off the ice. They never let anyone off the hook, or whatever it was in the gym or on the ice. They were all hard workers every single day of their lives. And I think I took really big inspiration in the way they live, especially, all of them helped me in certain ways, but especially Walker Duehr. I had a lot of help from him this offseason, considering his diet, his health and everything, how he eats is top level. And I try to take inspirations from that. And of course, all of this translates to the ice. I saw how hard those guys work, and I want to be as good as them one day. So I don't think that I'm quite there yet, but definitely I'm trying to measure up to those guys.
Andre, you've been really successful in the faceoff dot. I know that's been a strong point of your whole team. Your team leads the country, but you're close to 61%. What do you attribute your success on faceoffs to?
The guys that I can play against in practice. Maybe we don't take as many faceoffs in practice or on the pregame skates, but if I'm going against the centers that make up the #1 team in faceoffs, it makes me better and makes them better too. We make each other better, and that's the biggest thing about this thing, because faceoff, it's not really about style or technique. It's more about how you're ready and how much you want the puck. And we proved this season that we want the puck more than anyone else, and we make each other better on in these things.
As far as kind of your role on the team, I think, you've scored some goals this year, but, we look at the faceoffs, we look at the penalty kill, how much you've been a part of that. I think you're second among forwards on the team in block shots. Do you kind of pride yourself in doing some of those things that, maybe aren't as flashy as the goals and assists?
I take a lot of pride in anything that I can do to help the team win. I don't really think about that or look at the stats. I didn't even know that about the block shots. I think every single guy on this team has the mindset that, you go out there and you do whatever it's in your power to help the team win. And that's why we were so successful this season, because everyone buys into their job, whatever it is, whether you're on a power play, PK, or whatever you're bottom six forward, you just go out there and do your absolute max. And that's what makes this team successful.
Coach Hastings talked about, what you do off the ice in terms of your major, the difficulty in engineering major. Maybe talk about balancing that with hockey and how that's going for you.
I believe especially in this last semester, it kind of escalated a little bit because I took 17 credits, I believe, which was a really high load. But I grew up with the notion that was passed to me from my parents that, you want to have education in your life. And it's not something that you don't believe that your hockey career won't work out, but it's just the progression you want to have in life. You want to challenge yourself. And that was one of the reasons I came to America. I wasn't able to study and play hockey at the highest level back home. So that's why I wanted to move here. And that's why I wanted to go to college. And when I got here, I faced the decisions, whether I, choose a little bit easier major, like, business administration or something like that, or if I want to go into mechanical engineering, which will of course be more difficult. But I ended up to the conclusion that I want to challenge myself, whether it is on the ice or off the ice. And I don't believe that I should waste 4 years on a major that wouldn't give me as good of a head start to life. So, and I'm also more interested into the science things of life. So that's why I decided to go in mechanical engineering. Of course, it was difficult, but it's nothing you cannot handle.
Andre, last season, I know, as many freshmen are in this program, especially given the depth in, out of the lineup, that can be hard. Maybe talk about that experience and then getting to be in the lineup regularly this season.
I believe that startup is very hard. And the best thing about this is the leadership group. As soon as the new freshmen come in, they are welcome with open arms, whether it's by the seniors, juniors, or sophomores. I believe that my freshman class was kind of unlucky that we didn't get to have a summer training with COVID, so we didn't get to know the team before we actually came. But fortunately, we were able to do that this year, and I believe that was a huge part about building this team, that we all got together. The freshmen got acclimated, I believe is the word. And, it's all about confidence when you step on the ice. And it's, of course, a huge jump. You don't play against boys in the juniors anymore. You play against men that are, sometimes 25, 24 years old. And it's all about confidence because you see this big jump and you start doubting yourself. That, at least that was for my part. Like I was thinking I wasn't good enough to be here. But as the season goes on, the players give you more confidence, coaches, and the confidence come from yourself. That's the crucial part into getting to the lineup. And once you're there, we all support each other, and it's a healthy competition. So that's really important too.
Okay, thanks, Andre. Good luck this weekend against Ferris State.
Thank you very much.